complex relationship, if you will. There are instances where you serve as Tier 1 for your users, the help desk serves as Tier 1 for your users. Sometimes the help desk serves as Tier 2 for you, sometimes you serve as Tier 2 for the help desk. So we have a very complex and interesting relationship. And so the LSP community really are partners in support, but you're also a stakeholder of the help desk in many different ways. And sometimes your users call us directly, so all of those things. And so I think it's important that I'm here and we're talking about the help desk and LSPs. As Sean mentioned, a lot of the material here is born out of a conversation we had, I think it was in March, with a small group of LSPs. We had stood up a help desk advisory group following the last collective I attended, which I think was in February of last year. And one of the things I did is I ran through some of how the help desk works, some of the processes, just peeled it open a little bit so you could see inside. So if you were, I think a couple of you were there, so I apologize if you're seeing some of the same information as you did that, but that was 10 months ago. So. Again, we'll go into some of how the help desk works, the processes. We'll talk about the perspective of the help desk in the large, the scope of what it supports and the scope of groups that it works with. And I know some of you have background in the help desk area, probably a lot of you actually, either as an agent or as a manager. So I'd ask you to leave some of that at the door so that we can talk about how UVA does it. But also, bringing that, what you know, asking questions. I think what you'll see is that the help desk here does a lot of things that are best practices. So I don't think you'll see a lot of surprises in this. Okay, so I think hopefully this will be informative. I'm hoping to have a little bit of fun too. I've included some Mythbusters in the presentation. As I've gone around over the last year, I've heard some things said, some statements made, and we'll find out if some of those things are true or not today. So lastly, I'll do a presentation. I'll take questions during the presentation that are related to what we're talking about. I don't want anybody to be lost on a slide. And other questions, we'll wait till the end. We'll do some Q&A at the end. And maybe we can table some, if we need to table questions, we can jot them down and we'll catch them at the end. All right. Oh, I should probably bring my slide up here. All right. So getting started. So the first thing I want to talk about is help services. What is help services? That's the department that I manage. It's a department of about 2.25. It's me, it's Pat Graham, and I have a student intern, Kevin Duvall, who works about 4 to 6 hours a week and helps us out with a lot of projects. Help services is, at the highest level, we're the supplier manager. So we manage the contract with the help desk and everything that goes along with that, all the operational pieces around it. So at the top, like I said, we manage the supplier contract. So that's going to be things like the SLAs. That's going to be, we'd sit in any renegotiations if we wanted to negotiate the contract. We enforce the contract with the help desk. The second thing we do is we manage operations between the help desk and Tier 2 and 3 support. So when you call and your tickets can't be handled by the help desk, where does it go and how does it get there? And what are the expectations of that? How does the help desk know where to send that ticket? We'll talk a little bit about that as well. That's actually, that's probably the biggest piece of what we're doing right now, is working on that piece and getting that nailed down. That's sort of, in the world of service level agreements and operational level agreements, the top one's the SLA. The bottom one, these are operational level agreements with our other support areas. And lastly, we act as a liaison to the rest of the entire community. So be it users, be it the LSP community, anybody. If anybody has any questions, issues, feedback, those come to us. We'll talk about that later too. I'll give you my email address. So a little bit of scope for the help desk, just to put some perspective on the amount of information that the help desk has to know in order to serve its clients. You'll recognize some of these. Some we love to hate. Same with us. We don't get the same amount of calls on all of these various things, as you can imagine. But anything from what is now enterprise infrastructure, formerly known as ITC, so things like email, Hive, cable TV, NetBadge, to integrated systems, time management, self-service, jobs ad, to take calls for all of those things. Then on the SIS side, I know that's another one, everybody's favorite subject, SIS, student records, student accounts, all of those things. And of course, we always do the password resets as well. There are other groups outside of the new ITS organization too. We take calls. So security is actually not part of ITS, because of course part of the BPCIO organization. We'll take those calls and route them appropriately or answer what we can. And I know Bob's not here, but we get calls from SCPS students, and we have to farm those out and such. And sometimes we get calls from your users, and we have to refer back to you. But those are the services that we support. We did, in the last fiscal year, the help desk handled 44,653 tickets. And that's about what we handled the year before, so it's been pretty steady. We've taken on one service this year, that's Recon, and you saw that recently. And we're going to be taking on eSharp support in February. And eSharp, of course, is the getting permissions for integrated systems access today. I think we'll expand that to other applications as well, but we'll start that in February. So we're currently working on that. Okay, so I mentioned referral groups up front. What I mean by that is Tier 2 and Tier 3 in our lingo. We have all kinds of referral groups. We even have referral groups for things that we don't support, if that makes sense. So sometimes we get calls about things, and we need to get them to the right place, so we need to know where those go. But, essentially, we're talking about enterprise infrastructure, those services we talked about, SIS, integrated systems, security. Let's see, like I said, we also refer stuff to SCPS, capital computers, and so there's some others out there, classrooms and whatnot. So you can pretty much call about anything if you have a technical question. Last year, the help desk had 88% first contact resolution. So that means 88% of the calls that came in were resolved at the help desk. So the other 12% went to one of our 80-plus referral groups.
Do you have that data feedback broken down by tier groups at all? By the tier groups, by saying, 100% of the classroom stuff was tier 1, but Cavaliers, computers, we only were able to get 25% of their stuff. It all had to go.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have it handy,
No,
but I can get that. Yeah, that's information I can get. Like Cavalier computers is a deal-in. This is pretty much a pass-through for us. If people are calling and that's what they need, we send them over to Cavalier computers. SCPS ends up being a pass-through too, so I would expect a very low first contact resolution for those. And one thing to think about is, for example, when we introduced Recon support, we had about a 55% first contact resolution. And as we got the calls, we started to learn what kinds of calls we're getting.
And then you build up you need the knowledge lifetime just as the user does. And
We'll talk about knowledge too. Yeah.
I was just going to chime in on the same